Hi, it's your Auntie Elaine. Welcome all my nieces and nephews and nibblings back. Because today I want to tell you why you should not buy the Harry Potter video game. You know, I feel kind of weird saying that and making content about that franchise because some time ago, when it became a very apparent thing that the author of that franchise, the creator, is extremely transphobic and goes out of her way to, express those views, and even has made a kind of a thing about it. Well, at some point after this became extremely clear, I came to decide that I just was not going to engage with any of her content anymore. It was kind of a tough decision for me, and it wasn't something that just came out of nowhere. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watched a lot of videos around the time that the controversy kind of flared up from various content creators, both cis and trans, male and female. And after hearing what they had to say, I came to decide the only ethical thing to do would be to not engage with any content related to that franchise whatsoever, including fan works, which was really tough for me because there's been a lot of really great fan art and fan fictions out there that I really liked, but I decided, if I see a meme, I scroll past it without looking, or hide it from my news feed. I just avoid it. Unfortunately, it's not that simple because that woman just didn't go away. She's still out there. She's still stirring up controversy. She's even just recently released a very ironic piece of fiction. I don't know much about it other than the subject matter is kind of hilarious and terrible, but that seems to be sort of the theme of that woman's conduct the last few years as far as I'm concerned. Now, I felt that I had to take this step because that woman still actively makes a lot of money off of that franchise, and that franchise's fan base that supports it allows her to continue to stay relevant. And she cannot be silenced. That's just not a thing that happens. People have free speech, but a person can be deplatformed. She says things that are patently untrue. She empowers people to publicly embrace ideology that actively harms transgender individuals of all ages. She is contributing to a overall atmosphere where people who are transphobic feel like they have a good reason to be so and are able to share those views publicly and not feel like they will be shamed for them, as they should be. And an example I can think of right offhand is I had a transgender friend that I went to a restaurant with, and first time I met her, I had no idea she was trans. I just thought she was very butch lesbian. I know a lot of very, very butch lesbians. She really didn't, at first glance to me, look any different than they do. And so here she is, someone that I would say is marginally passing. I mean, maybe obviously her experiences might not really support that, but in my view, when I looked at her, I saw a woman But when we went out to a restaurant in a sort of, conservative Florida town, she didn't feel comfortable using the women's bathroom. She literally used the men's bathroom because she was afraid of how people would treat her. And that's not like something that happened to me a long time ago. This is something that happened to me like recently. Well, not to me, but that I saw happen to someone else just recently. So it's definitely not an uncommon thing for trans people to feel like they are in danger by just existing in public spaces. And it's not just trans people that are harmed by this. It's all people. For example, another thing I can think of offhand that happened fairly recently to somebody I know. Her daughter is a cisgender female who just happens to be somewhat sporty, short hair, a little androgynous, like a lot of teenagers. I was pretty androgynous as a teenager. You're kind of awkward. And she had someone harass her for using a women's bathroom because I guess they assumed she was trans. Because they didn't think that she was their idea of a woman, and therefore she couldn't be a woman. She was one of those transgenders that was trying to sneak into women's bathrooms. It's appalling. It is absolutely appalling how this atmosphere that woman has helped create with her influence, her money, and her platform. This world that she's helped create is infuriatingly terrible to a population of people that are already extremely vulnerable. In fact, I would argue that right now, trans people are critically vulnerable in ways they haven't been before. I was doing some research before I made this video, and I came across statistics for 2015 about how many anti-trans pieces of legislation were being tracked. And for 2015, it was 125 pieces of legislation, which is disgusting. However, I found a piece from April of this year, of 2022, that said that there were already 300 plus pieces of anti-trans legislation just this year. And that was several months ago. So I don't even want to think what it is now. It's insanity. It's absolutely bizarre that people are spending so much time and energy fearing, hating, and discriminating against one of the smaller populations that we have, that's almost always the victim of crime instead of the perpetrators of crime, and are uniquely vulnerable. And so it's extremely important for this idea, for this culture of anti-trans discrimination to be choked out as quickly and as violently as possible, because it is killing people. Literally killing people. When I say trans people are uniquely vulnerable, I don't just mean for queer people in general. When compared to lesbian, gays, and bisexuals, transgender people are twice as likely to be suicidal or attempt suicide. Twice as likely as even gays, lesbians, and bisexual people, who also have a outsized suicide rate. In the past year, before they were surveyed, 1 in 3 transgender teens said that they had been suicidal. 1 in 3. That's, in the last year. Not in their entire lives, in the last year. This is a crisis that is growing. And it's one that I feel a unique kinship to. as another mythical, as a person who doesn't exist, as a aromantic, asexual woman. I understand what it's like to live in a society that is not set up for you, that the majority of people tell you that you don't exist. It is demoralizing. But at least I don't have laws being passed saying that I have to be in a romantic relationship whether I want to or not. At least I don't have laws saying that I have to get married and bear children whether I want to or not. At least those things, I'm not being targeted by lawmakers, and I'm not being targeted by some billionaire woman who don't know what she's talking about and needs to be stopped. And the truth of the matter is that big changes like that, deplatforming someone that powerful, that's not something I can do. At least not by myself. That's not something that the average person of any sort can do by themselves. The best and easiest way of helping deplatform this woman is to make sure that any media associated with her properties makes as little money as possible. Because once she is no longer a moneymaker for Warner Brothers and their publishing companies and blah, 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 they're not going to continue giving her the platform that they are continuing to give her. The only way to shrink her influence is to get those companies to take action, because we live in a society, a global society, where the individual has very little voice, but big, powerful corporations can really affect change. And so if we want something to change, we have to make sure that the corporations supporting that thing, whatever it is, an idea, a person, whatever, the corporations that make money from that need to be told as forcefully and as quickly as possible by consumers that anything that they produce with that creator is toxic and going to cost them money, and if they can't make money, then they will stop engaging with her. And that's what we have to do. And I've heard people say things like, well, what about the artists that worked on that video game and the blah, blah, blah. Listen, they chose to work on that property. They took the risk when they chose to work on that property, to work on something they know is controversial. And when you are involved in something that is controversial, you are taking the risk that the controversy is going to go against your way, and the product that you create is not going to be worth anything. And the fact of the matter is, those artists got paid, they'll get their credit so they can use that for future employment, and that's all they need. They don't need anything more from their contributions, and they don't deserve anything more from their contributions, because they did make an active choice. And that goes for all the actors and directors and producers and screenwriters and everyone that works with that woman on any level going forward. That's a choice they make, and any benefits that they lose because of the association with her in that content, that was a choice that they took, a risk that they took. And so I kind of feel some sympathy, but I don't feel that much sympathy. Not enough to change the fact that we have to make this woman toxic. We have to make it so that anything she touches is poison financially. That everything is a flop. that it's a huge financial failure. Because until we get to that point, she's still going to be enabled. And while she's being enabled, she is going to use her platform to actively harm trans people. I will admit, there are times that I get angry when I think about this. When I lived in Florida the first time, I had a season pass to Universal Studios. And I went there all the time. And when the first theme park area associated with that franchise came out, I loved it. Loved it. It was so amazing. And when I came back to Florida this time, I didn't get a Universal Pass. I haven't even been back. Because I don't know if I can feel comfortable, enjoy myself knowing that by going there, I am supporting financially something that benefits her. So maybe I just go to Disney World instead. Not that I've gone to any theme parks in a long time because of, pandemic and disability. Well, anyway, Universal Studios is dead to me for the most part, and I hate that, but it's her fault. And I can be angry about that, but at the end of the day, I might have lost fanfics I love and theme park rides I loved and butterbeer and whatnot, but trans people are losing their lives. They're losing their freedom. They're losing their access to appropriate medical care. They're losing their ability to simply exist. And, to me, that's worth losing a little bit of entertainment. So, I know not everyone's going to agree with me here, but I just felt like I had to explain why this is so important in my view, and hope that I might motivate someone else to feel that way too. That's all I wanted to lecture you about today. Hope you have a wonderful day and are taking good care of yourself. Make sure you're still washing your hands. I know the whole COVID thing's old at this point, but still, be careful because you're important. Have a great day.